Tom Homan was asked about racial profiling today. He said that ICE is not racially profiling. What are you seeing? What are you hearing? Also, we've learned that ICE now has stations at courthouses in Illinois so that they can process suspects, sort of take them out of the criminal justice system since we're not cooperating here in Illinois with ICE. Can you just react to the impact that might be having on our court system?
Well, Tom Homan has long ago acknowledged that he was racially profiled. As the leader of ICE, and somebody who's now advising the president on this new strategy, attacking our Latino communities. We know that Supreme Court decision yesterday that frankly takes away rights from people across the United States is something that Tom Homan shares. So I just want to be clear, we don't appreciate and frankly push back on and will always fight what Tom Homan and what the Supreme Court decision represents.
And the courthouses, ICE stations at courthouses?
Look, remember that we're talking about people who have been here for many years in this country who are literally seeking to follow legal procedures so that they can stay in this country. To attack them in the very place where they are trying to follow the law seems to me like the world is upside down when this is what Donald Trump is promoting. ICE sitting outside of courthouses that people are showing up to voluntarily. These are not people running away from authority. These are people seeking authority to stay in this country.
Governor, do you have any John DeWitt said that the state should use the $200 million a year in interest on the road fund to provide ongoing mass transit funding. He also said he wants to use interest earned on the rainy day fund and interest earned in the future on the rainy day fund to fund mass transit.
Well, he's a little late to the table, if you ask me, if that's a recent proposal, and all I can say is that we're looking at all of the potential revenue sources in order for us to make sure we fund a world-class transit system in the state of Illinois.
What's ideas on the rainy day fund?
What did you hear from them? What are the concerns that they expressed to you, and what are you able to do to sort of work with them at all?
Well, today I was in Brighton Park with the Brighton Park Neighborhood Council, also with ICER, which represents really the breadth of immigration-associated organizations in the state of Illinois, listening to them, and we were talking about how we can protect our communities better. They are amazing at making sure that people know their rights in this environment in which people's rights are under attack. So I was pleased to listen to them, to spend time with them, and I will say, people are frankly afraid. In our communities, they're afraid to come out of their homes, they're afraid to go shopping, they're afraid to take their own children to school because they have mixed status households. Some are U.S. citizens, some are people who have legal status in this country but are not citizens, and there are undocumented people. And we are trying to protect all the residents of the state of Illinois. These are people who, people talk about, Donald Trump likes to talk about immigrants as criminals. These are not criminals. These are people who are genuinely here in this country, holding down jobs. They've been here for 10, 20, 30 years, raising families here, paying taxes, following the law, doing the right thing. We should give them an opportunity, whether it's when they go to the courthouse to try to get their citizenship or their legal status improved, or taking their kids to school. We should be protecting them in all of those areas. Shia.
I understand that you might have had a conversation with Hakeem Jeffries about redistricting. I'm wondering if Illinois might consider any plan to redistrict before 2026.
Well, I talked to Hakeem Jeffries somewhat frequently. No, I did not have a specific conversation recently about redistricting, and I have pledged to him that I'll do everything I can to make sure that Democrats win the Congress in 2026. It's one of the reasons that you've seen me stand up in places outside of Illinois often, campaigning for people, helping state parties raise money, because we have got to win in 2026 in order to stop the madness coming out of the White House.
Where are we in this story right now? Greg Vivino reportedly on the ground here, ICE saying that they're here with that picture of the Willis Tower in the background, but we don't have the National Guard here. In your head, where are we on the timeline in the big picture?
Well, it's hard to tell, Chris, because as you know, Donald Trump wakes up, and depending upon which side of the bed he wakes up on, or what his mood is, or maybe what he had to drink the night before, we don't know exactly what's going to come out of his mouth and what he's going to tell people to do. Here's what we do know. ICE is somewhere on the ground here. They already have been effectuating their plans. We have not seen the bulk of those ICE agents yet in communities, but we have seen some. And we know that they are gathering steam, and they have the vehicles. We know they have about 100 vehicles that they are planning to utilize. We know that they're planning more than 200 agents on the ground, and it's not my understanding yet that Greg Bovino is here. But he has been on his way, and he is in charge of the efforts here in Illinois. And I think his history, what he posts online, which everybody should go take a look at, is just evidence that they have terrible plans for the communities of Illinois. In fact, Tom Homan has basically said that they're going to be working double hard here in a way that they maybe didn't in Los Angeles. So I'm worried for our communities. Remember, this is bad for the state of Illinois. This is bad for the economy of the state of Illinois. You saw the business community standing with me when I was pushing back on the idea of bringing troops into Illinois that Donald Trump had. And as far as I'm concerned, the ICE needs to take it down about 3 notches. And we need Tom Homan to focus on something other than his failures in Illinois. One of the reasons that he's been so unsuccessful is people know their rights here. They're learning their rights. We have great organizations on the ground, and they're doing exactly what they should be doing, following the law.
Regarding the Supreme Court, since the racial profiling basically being allowed, at the state level, what can we do? Because we got reports of a flower shop, someone waiting at a bus stop, someone just walking down the street that ICE basically targeted. Like, what is the state doing? What can the state do concrete-wise to kind of like head off with the Supreme Court saying that racial profiling is functionally okay?
Well, as you know, that's federal law. And so, as you know, there is the supremacy clause that essentially says federal law trumps state law, period, end of sentence. And so what we can do is make sure that people know their rights, and that they're staying out of the way. That's the best thing that we can do. I mean, and we're also taking them to court if they break the law in the state of Illinois, and that it's not in contravention of federal law. And so, we're frankly standing up and speaking out and ready to take them to court and do everything that we can to protect the people who live here from what Donald Trump is trying to do, which is to disrupt the country, not because he's going after criminals, but because he has a nefarious plan, frankly, to bring military into cities so that ultimately in the 2026 election, people will be normalized to the idea of militarization during the next election so that he can affect the outcome of that.